Hey guys, alright, so I just got back from my morning run. I am starting a whole new chapter in my life. That's why I haven't been on the fucking channel much lately. I am restructuring both mentally and physically, and I'm just trying to get everything straight and in order. So I wanted to get back to the Evil Dead franchise with Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1. I've watched 7 episodes of this so far, 3 more to go. And then I'll get on to the next 2 seasons when I get. Funny thing is, I've actually never seen the 3rd season. Can you believe it? I can't. It's just one of those things that it is what it is. I didn't have stars, blah, blah, blah. Wanted it on Blu-ray, got it on Blu-ray, but then I wanted to rewatch seasons 1 through 2, but I didn't want to do that till I reviewed all of the Evil Deads on the channel. Blah, blah, freaking long story short. I just didn't do it. And now I'm going to. So now I get to see season 3. I can't wait to get there. This show is just, it's a godsend. That's what it is. Like, for many, 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 many years, we've always been like, we want Evil Dead 4. We want Evil Dead 4. We want the next Army of Darkness. Whatever happens after there. We need Ash back. This needs to happen. And we clamored for a movie. We clamored for a freaking hour-and-a-half long movie. And what were we gifted? We were gifted 30-minute episodes. 30-minute episodes. That's fucking crazy, okay? That's insane. That's like 10 films. I don't know. I just don't feel like enough people could appreciate that, And we were gifted essentially 10 Evil Dead movies. Not 1, 10. High quality, awesome, true Ash, Bruce Campbell back, and playing a role, playing him X amount of years later, however many years later this is, like 30 years later or something. And feeling like how Ash would progress in his life. And there's so many things that happen in here that just feel right. They just feel like this is what would happen to Ash after he got back from medieval times and he's working at S-Mart. I'm not sure exactly what is going on at the end of Army of Darkness when the Deadites in S-Mart, because he kind of vanquished them and he's been in this show. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I try not to even assess logic when it comes to these movies and this television series. It just is what it is. But I do look at the Ash character and say, as a character, I feel like this is as true to his character as possible. They really did a fantastic job. We see the opening here, and Ash is throwing on a girdle, and he's pushing himself into it. And of course, no matter what, he has fucking dentures. He's going gray. He's dyeing his hair. He's overweight. He's whatever. But he still thinks he is a god. And I don't know, the way it plays out, like, it's not like everything stayed perfect for him. It's not like he has the best teeth and he has, his hair's never grayed and he stayed in this amazing shape. No, life has hit him like a lot of people. It ages them, and, they gain weight, they whatever. But Ash never loses his certainty in himself. This absolute arrogance, and a lot of it is unwarranted arrogance, but it doesn't matter because that's what adds the charm to Ash. And this isn't Ash from Evil Dead. This is Ash from there's a progress, an evolution of Ash that really kind of starts in 2, builds into Army of Darkness, then you fast forward to this one, and this is just where he naturally would be 30 years later. And I don't know, when I was watching it this time, I've watched this season before, but I was watching it this time after having watched all the previous movies. It just felt natural. It was like, yeah, this is what the Army of Darkness Ash would be up to 30 years later. And how he releases the evil forces back into the world by just getting high while trying to impress some like girl half his age so he can try to fuck her. And then like remembering that after being like, oh fuck, and then the credits, the opening title card of just blood exploding onto the screen Ash versus Evil Dead, not the Evil Dead, Ash versus Evil Dead. It's perfect. This first episode being directed by Sam Raimi, you know, Ivan Raimi being involved. It's just like Christmas, you know? What franchises have this? Have a direct continuation of a TV series that's as awesome as this. Off the top of my head, I don't have any, you know? I've seen a television series transition into a film that was awesome, which X-Files Fight the Future, and then it went back to TV. But a film series that took the actual titular character with the original actor and continued the story on and to make it as awesome as I don't know any. I mean, remind me if I'm forgetting, but this is just a blessing. Anyways, all right. I won't do this every episode. Because it's the first episode of this fucking show, this is where I'm going to gush about how fantastic this show is. Another thing this show does so right, oh my goodness, is the level of gore and the, you know, cursing, the natural language of adults in crazy situations like this. Ash, Bruce Campbell, says fuck all the time. Love it. The Army of Darkness, my biggest issue with Army of Darkness is that it is too kid-friendly. It felt like a family movie, in a way. There was no gore. Like, where I knew this show was right, and it was headed in the right direction, is when Ash puts a shotgun to one of the Deadites' heads, pulls the trigger, and the head completely explodes. Blood, freaking everything, everywhere. There's so much carnage and blood every episode. As I said, I'm currently on about to start episode 8. I've watched 7 episodes. There's carnage and blood and mayhem and full-on spectacular gore in every single episode. And crazy shit, inventive stuff, funny, hilarious stuff. And in this episode, another thing they do really cool is the scene with Amanda, one of the characters, a cop lady. She goes into this house, and this is when she first experiences a deadite and what the hell's going on. And this creature turns, it's the woman who was smoking with Ash that released the demon from the Necronomicon, the deadites, whatever. And she like turns her head back around, and then her arms fold backwards all the way, and she like starts coming at them all crazy. Like, that whole scene is void of any, comedy at all. There's no levity in that scene. It is pure horror. It's actually fairly frightening. And it's great to see actual horror being injected into the Evil Dead franchise again, because there are people who are kind of on both sides, one side of the coin, should I say, not both sides. I'm on both sides. I like either. But there's a lot of people who are on one side or the other. They like Evil Dead, like my friend Gurge. He is a huge fan of the first one and fucking hates 2 and 3 because he hates the comedic bullshit. And then there's a lot of people who are like, I don't really care for the first one all that much. I like the more comedic, jokey Ash with all the one-liners and this and that. I like both. I'm fine with either. But to see both together in this first episode, to see Raimi come in and do an actual scary moment, a real horror moment to remind us that he can actually do horror, that he can do actual horrific horror, not just comedy horror like he does a lot of the times with the Evil Dead franchise, and Darkman has a lot of, Darkman's a little dark. It's called Darkman, right? But then Drag Me to Hell is much more darkly comedic. It's good. There's some horror in it, and I think that's a better blending of the two. But I love to see Raimi tackle actual horror again, and it's here. And that scene actually was pretty damn scary, and I loved it. All right, let's try to focus and go in line here. So I love that Ash walks into a bar all confident after getting himself together, and he goes in and he throws a dart really without even looking, and it completely misses the board. And that is them, ironically, perfectly hitting the mark. Like, Ash doesn't even care where it lands. In his mind, he hit the bullseye. It doesn't matter where it hit. It could have hit the fucking floor. It could have disappeared into thin air. He's gone from that moment. He's already succeeded in that moment before he even goes to approach his prey. You know, the girl he's trying to bone, which he ends up doing in the bathroom and has to lie to her about how he lost his hand saving a kid, whatever. But that is so perfectly Ash. It is so perfectly the guy I know from these movies. And it's just those moments, that, the head explosion and the horror, those three things, and then the ending line. God, even the chainsaw being hooked onto the hand, very Army of Darkness. And then, you know, a shotgun fucking firing up from his trailer there and catching it and blowing the heads off. And then, of course, as I said, I was going to save this for the end, but because we're into what makes Ash Ass in this and what made me so excited about this episode, on top of everything else, and we're going to get to other stuff, but focusing mostly on Ash, is his ending line. There couldn't have been a better ending line for this show. Like, they sat down, and I feel like they either like instantly knew what it was going to be, and it was like, this is how this episode's going to end. This is going to get everyone to just stand up and fucking cheer or pump their fist or whatever. You know, how does it feel to be back? Pablo says or asks, and he's groovy. And then credits, blood on the screen, directed by Sam Raimi, a dream come true. I feel like that could have been it. I feel like if that came online and was like a 35, I want to say that's a little longer of an episode, like 40 minutes long or something. If that came on the screen and that was that, like groovy boom credits, Sam Raimi, when that whole episode played out and that's all we ever got, we would have been so fucking stoked. The fact that we get 29 more episodes that has a story and it drives off of that and those characters coming, amazing. Just that's enough. That would have been enough. I'm glad we got all the rest, don't get me wrong. But what we get in this first episode is so fucking fantastic that we're so lucky to even have this. I love this first episode. It set the perfect tone. Now, I don't want to sound like this show is perfect, flawless, 10 out of 10. I would probably give it a 10 out of 10 because the strengths far outweigh the weaknesses. So much so that I really look past them as if they're not there. Where this show really lacks, and I'm sure you know what that is, the CGI is terrible. There is some shitty, shoddy CGI in this show. Really, really bad. A lot of great practical too. So there's a lot of awesome practical stuff, but man, there's a skeleton that comes out of like a fire in episode 6, I want to say. And I was like, Jesus Christ, man. I wouldn't even have shown that on screen. It's so poor. It's so bad. But does it matter, really? When you're getting what you're getting with this show, should it affect your overall viewing experience? Absolutely not. It just doesn't. When I look at it, I'm like, whatever. Like, back to the fun. Ignore it. It's their limited means, and I hope that the second season, third season, I don't remember the second season as far as the CGI quality, if it goes up or not, or if there's less of it or whatnot, but they had means that they didn't have, I guess, and they just did the best they could. But Jesus, man, I don't know. Some of it looks terrible, and one is in this episode, and it is the little porcelain doll that's like attacking Ash and yelling at him and whatnot. And that's very Sam Raimi. That's very, the little baby Ash is running around and doing the Gulliver's Travels thing and all that. That's very Sam Raimi. So it's just the look of her. It's so bad. It takes you out of it. But because Ash is being Ash and he's breaking pots over his face, reminiscent of the plates on his face in Evil Dead 2, it just, I don't know. It's like they're fighting against one another. It's like terrible CGI, awesome Ash. Terrible CGI, awesome Ash, and it's like fucking Ash is gonna win that fight. So like, I'll just look past it. It's like, no big deal, whatever. Would I prefer to be better? Would it amp the show up even more? If there was like flawless CGI and the CGI looked amazing, I don't know if I'd have a complaint about pretty much anything I've seen in this show so far. It's just that damn good. And I haven't even talked about freaking Pablo or Kelly yet. So I mean, those are the two other main characters of this show. Amanda becomes a more recurring character, and then you have Ruby, Lucy Lawless, or Xena, the warrior princess, or whatever. She's also in this, but the main three are Pablo, Kelly, and of course Ash. Pablo is hilarious. I mean, Pablo is just fucking funny as hell. Perfect chemistry with Ash. The way he plays off of him, his reactions to things, his hair is so silly and ridiculous. It fits him so well. Fits his character. Everything he says, I just love it. He's a perfect fit for this show. Fantastic. Kelly is fucking a goddess. I think she is just so sexy and so charming, and I am in love with this girl. This is like one of my biggest takeaways from this show. The first time I watched it was like, oh my God, who is that girl? And I don't know, it's not just, there's plenty of women, and I've talked about this many times, but there's plenty of women out in the world that are beautiful. Especially in Hollywood, especially on TV, especially when you watch movies, television, whatever. Almost every girl in these movies are gorgeous. So looks aren't all of it. She's beautiful, don't get me wrong. But there's something about her presence. It's something about her personality. There's something about her charm, her wit, her whatever. It just works for me. And I get it, and I love it, and I love her. And every episode so far, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the word would be. I swoon. There you go. I swoon when she's on screen. I'm like, she's just lovely. And the stuff she does, we're going to get to that in the episodes, but okay. All right. As I said, I'm going to fill this episode. It's going to be really front heavy. The rest of the episode reviews will probably be like 5-7 minutes. This one's obviously going to be much longer. Trying to get all this out of the way. All right, I'm way off of track here. And so yeah, as saying, we've already kind of talked about the scene where Amanda and the other cop goes in, turns his head backwards, comes in. The makeup on the other cop when he turns into a Deadeye looks so fucking Evil Dead 2. Yeah. Ash, when he's telling his story, he says that him and his friends went up to a cabin. So, and then they show clips from Evil Dead 1 and from Evil Dead 2. So they are trying to straight out tell you that Evil Dead 1 and 2, like people suggested to me, that Evil Dead 2 is a quick rehash remake of the first one in the first like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then from there it's a continuation. I call horse shit all fucking day. I've explained it enough in my other videos. Bullshit. Bullshit. Why is Ash and his girlfriend only in the car driving to the cabin then? No. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. Absolutely not. Do I care? No. I will take it at face value. Fine. They're both connected. Evil Dead 1 and 2 are the stories being drawn from for this one. And Ash wants to say he was there with his friends and not just his girlfriend, so that we can just fucking ignore the first one and be like, no, this is an Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness sequel, which Army of Darkness, they don't have the rights for at this point, right? I kind of heard some right. I don't know what the true legalities are here, or the reasoning behind, but I'm pretty sure that I saw, no, I'm positive that I saw that Evil Dead 2 and 1 were fair game for them, but Army of Darkness, there was rights issues, and that's why they couldn't talk about it, they couldn't, whatever, show footage from it. And I think that they got to later on, that there's more references. At least, maybe they didn't get the rights to it, but they at least referenced that he went back in time at one point. I don't remember that happening in season 2, but I could be wrong. But another thing that suggests that Army of Darkness is, has rights issues is that he works at Value Stop and not S-Mart. If this was S-Mart, it would make much more sense, because they show a thing somewhere in one of these episodes where he's like traveling around the country. The state, I think. It's actually just Michigan. Okay, so it's just the Michigan. But he's like worked at multiple different Value Stops all around the freaking state there. and it would just, I don't know, it would have been more nostalgic, it would have fit better into the story, whatever. The way that I would have liked it is that he's still been working at S-Mart for the last 30 fucking years. That would have been hilarious to me. But this is essentially supposed to be S-Mart. Maybe he got fired for S-Mart for shooting one of the freaking customers dead and, molesting one of the clients right after he did it. I don't know. So then he had to go off and do this. Work at this other place. Why are there so many loose light bulbs in this box that he's given by his manager? That just seems like improper packaging there. I love that Ash makes his neighbor clean his trailer. He goes over and schmoozes her and like gives her the charm and then like gets all serious and he's like, but really get in there, So Ash. It's just so Ash. It reminds me of, freaking Army of Darkness. First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me, blow. And then she brings him a fucking horse, a blanket, and he's like, good, I needed a horse blanket. He's so arrogant, he's so pompous, and he'll do anything to get however he wants. We actually get to see Ash having sex here, and Ash is having sex, and he's giving it to this girl, and a Deadeye turns around and scares him, and he's like, what the fuck? And she's like, wait, come on, I was gonna finish this. And a normal person, any person in any movie would have been like, no, I'm not in the mood anymore, or like, just run out the door, or like, I'm sorry, I can't. No, Ash, being Ash, it's all about him. He's just like, all right, but we got to make it quick, and he goes right back to fucking her. Even though he knows he probably unleashed hell onto Earth again, it's like, I might as well just, finish up really quick. That's Ash. It's so fucking Ash. I love it. And yeah, this is where Pablo tells him he's El Jefe, which that's what he calls him throughout the rest of at least this season. I don't know. I'm sure he calls it to him the whole rest of the time, but yeah. Then Kelly sees her mom is on the phone and is back from the dead, which we know is probably not going to turn out so well, but we'll get to that in another episode. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I think I talked about everything in this episode somewhere in here. I went all over my notes without even really looking at them, but I watched this episode like 3-4 days ago at this point. I've just been so busy focusing on other things. But yeah, anyways, all right, let's get to the next episode so I can see how long I talk about each of those episodes. All right, see you there.